Good afternoon, St. Louis, Missouri, on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Austin, Texas, Miami Beach, Florida, and also Surfside, Florida also. Louisville, Kentucky, Springfield, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, Baltimore, Maryland, Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's very, very, very hot. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, California, and Kansas City, Missouri, home for the Negro League Baseball Museum, located at 18th Vine in the historical Vine District. And I'm happy to say that this week that they've been in the news, and that's always great. And they also a friend of our Missouri Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to lunch with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce in person. Real. Scott. Both sides. Oh, the cameras. Oh, you know something?
Yep.
Oh, no, Scott's waving. Okay, you know, this is, for instance, we got cameras all over the place. let me acclimate myself, okay? Which camera am I looking at? See, I'm looking at Scott.
This one right here, sir.
Okay, now I got you. And I had a side view. That's okay. But I tell you what, Scott, since we were last here, you have made vast improvements. The camera's quality is, matter of fact, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras in the studio. So tell me we're not first class. Okay, but anyway, you listen to, and Winston, that's Rip over there, and my name is Aaron, folks, your host and creator, along with, let's say, my cousin, co-host here, co-host. Rip, how you doing, sir?
Fine.
That's good to hear. And Scott, a little wet.
A little wet.
a little wet.
Never been accused of being a sugar cube or salt.
Well, neither one would have survived the shower we had a little while ago. But anyway, but we all made it here today, and we are live and live in color on Fraggleton USA, HotTalkRadio.com, broadcasting from the beautiful St. Mark's Family Complex here in Ferguson, Missouri. And Reverend Mayor Tommy Pearson is our pastor. He's also the mayor of Bellfound Neighbors, and also the pastor of this beautiful. We call this is a complex. We have a beautiful facility here, and when you get a chance to drive by, come be our guest sometime. We appreciate you. But anyway, it's a beautiful complex. And guess what? Today, Elder, I get this right now. Lyles, pastor of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, located at 55474 Leland Avenue, and that's at 5517 Leland Avenue. That's in North St. Louis at 63120. That's pastor to my left, Lyles, pastor of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, located in beautiful Walnut Park at the Greater St. Mark Church Complex at 63120. That's Elder Lyles, pastor of the Walnut Park Bible Chapel Church, 557 Illinois Avenue, 63120. Scott, I guess, is outside. And also, we're so happy to have Rev. So anyway, it's nice to see you in person, Rev. So what do you got for us today?
I'm in 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians, that's all. Oh my God, that's
the 2nd chapter.
So first of all, tell us about who wrote this, so people can let's get people into this.
Paul wrote it.
Okay.
The whole New Testament written by Paul.
Oh, this is one big journey he was taking.
Yep, 27 books.
Yeah, he's on a mission.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so what we got here?
Well, Paul wrote it. He was the penman, but God wrote it by speaking.
He was a facilitator to him.
Yeah.
That brought it down and said, hey. That's why sometimes when God talks to us, write it down.
Yeah.
Because that's a message someplace.
Right.
So anyway, I'm sorry, Reb, go ahead.
We're in chapter 2, and the title says, they are reminded that the Christian revelation owes nothing to human wisdom. And the reason why this speaks like this is because the Word of God is by Him and not by man. Mm-hmm. If it's by man, then you're dealing with Satan and his demon, the spirit of error. Mm-hmm. If it's by God, you're dealing with spirit of grace and truth, which is him, the Holy Spirit. And verse 1 said, and I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech or of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you, save Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness, and in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in a demonstration of the Spirit and of power. Now this demonstration of the Spirit and power, this been happening a long time in the Church of God. It's been happening a long time because men been saying, well, let me put the word of God my way in his wisdom, but not God's wisdom.
You know, Real, how many times people say they're gonna do it their way?
Yeah, you hear that a lot of times.
Yeah, it's gonna do it my way, you know. And in fact, you know, and people say it with vengeance,
Right.
you know, confident that they're gonna do it their way and they're gonna be successful.
Yep.
Like I always say, this has stood up for over 21 years, and it's still good for the next 1,000 years.
Yep.
And they're going to have the same discussion. Somebody said, I'm going to do it my way.
Yep.
Right, Scott?
Absolutely.
How many times you heard somebody tell you that? Oh, I'm going to do it my way, Scott.
Too many times.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, go ahead, Rev.
It said wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. It's by the Spirit and power. See what God does when you're born again, you going to acknowledge God. But when you're not born again, you're going to acknowledge yourself. You're going to say, look what I did. And that's your first father. That's everybody's first father, whether you want to accept it or not. It's everybody's first father is the Satan. Satan is everybody's first father because you was in trespasses and sin.
But you know, Rev, it's just amazing that even sometimes when people have been proven wrong, don't change.
Nope.
They still, as a matter of fact, I don't want to get into the lies, okay? But anyway, go ahead.
Did he go on to say that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to know. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which God ordained before the world unto our glory. See why this is using wisdom? Because your beginning with God is first the beginning of wisdom and knowledge. The same way when a person is born again, the beginning with God is the fear of wisdom and knowledge. They be talking, oh, I got saved because the commode busted. You know, all this crazy mess.
I saw a sign.
Yeah, talking about, I saw, well, it felt good to me. And I said, God, if you would do this for me and do that for me, I would serve you for the rest of my life. And they wasn't doing nothing but lying.
But you know, Rip, all through the Bible, you know, he said they're always asking for a sign.
Yep.
You know, give me a sign.
You know what the sign is?
I'm listening.
Believe the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, wherever you at. Believing you pass from death into life before you sleep and after you sleep.
I love to hear you say that.
See, because saints ain't going to die. We go to sleep. If you dead, you ain't going to hear him call your name.
That is true.
But it was meant, you know, the unjust going to live forever, and the born-again believer going to live forever. But his justice, eternal damnation, is for the unjust. Eternal life is for the Christian.
Okay, so well, I mean, that's, go right here.
Then it go on to say, which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. See, if Satan would have known everything like he was so smart, he never would have crucified Jesus, had him crucified. He wouldn't have. But he didn't know, because God knows everything.
Rev, on that day, there were so many people said, we shouldn't have done this. I mean, anybody that was, witnesses there left there saying, we made a mistake.
Yep.
Because he was visually seeing that people, that the clouds, everything. So even the guard that was right there with him said, hey, this was the Son of God. And he saw first, he was closer than anybody could be at.
Oh, yeah. Then it go on to say, but as it is written, eye had not seen,
yes,
nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God had prepared for them that love him. Right here, what God is talking about, like most people say, well, like we see each other down here on earth, but according to Scripture, everybody gonna see Christ. You're not gonna see each other because the body is not visible yet of God's body. For us, it's not visible yet. So that's why you can't know how it's gonna look. That's why you be saying, well, we're gonna look just like we are. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. Because God said that the temperature in your body, that 98.610, that's fire. That temperature in your body is fire and heat, and it's warm. And that's what God is, a consuming fire. That's why the bush didn't consume. When Moses, he told Moses, Moses, take off your shoes. This is holy ground. See, we not gonna be like we say, I'm gonna see my mama and my father. No, we're not. We're not gonna see them. They've been lying to y'all a long time. That's the spirit of error, not the spirit of grace and truth. You got the book here, you read the book, accept what the book is saying, not what you think it is. People mess up. They messed up.
And he forgive us also. That's the best.
And I'm following the book.
I think we are in that same mind. Right?
I'm following the book.
Right, Scott?
Yes, sir.
Then it go on to say,
Look.
but God had revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of God. For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of man which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man but the Spirit of God. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. That's how I was taught by the Word of God, by rightly dividing the Word, by comparing Scripture with Scripture.
Word on word.
Word on word. Precept on precept.
Line on line.
Yeah. See, I learned to worry about a lot of people go in and study where they'll read 3 verses, and then they'll take a subject out of that.
Exploratory teaching the way you do it.
Yeah, but you're supposed to compare Scripture with Scripture, because as you read Scripture with Scripture, God already done explained what he's talking about. All you have to do is read it.
Real, we're going to do a show in the very near future where we're going to take your teachings. Because one thing you just mentioned there, and I heard it years ago when I was taking up homiletics, 3 verses, what you're going to get here. Well, that was a teaching over 30 or 40 years ago. And things have changed. And it's virtually impossible for all that's taking place, and all people are seeing with their own eyes, to stay with them in 3 verses. Without being redundant and kind of hit somebody in the head with over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
Then they go on to say, 14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit of error tell him, oh, you in.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord saved you because you've been right.
Mm-hmm.
You've been treating everybody right. You're a good prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You pray good, man.
Mm-hmm.
All that. And they still gonna bust hell wide open because they don't believe the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
And on that note, Red, we're going to thank you today for not only for a beautiful scripture, but also for a beautiful lesson, and how we need to look at the Bible when we read it. And when you read it to understand, and grasp what God is telling you as He kind of talks to you through the word that's been given you. It's kind of funny being in the studio today. Like I said, Scott got, like I said, we counted the cameras on the wall over here. We got about 8 cameras around here, and which is a blessing, So that's what I said. So I'm kind of adjusting again, going back and forth to the different cameras here as we adjust. Because we was here last time, we only had 2 cameras, guys. So we've come a mighty long ways. And I will admit the cameras we get right now are all high tech. There's nothing like the old days. And look what Scott just did with the flick of a wrist. Look at that. Look at that where we are there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got it together here. Anyways, listen to Ferguson USA, HotTalkRadio.com. My name is Ira, folks. You listen and watching on Facebook and YouTube, and I think it's Twitch. Lunch with Jim Little by Chino Commerce for July the 10th, 2021. Scott, on that note, if you can, should I hold on a little while? Or you can take us out of here. Welcome back to Lunch with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce on a beautiful, on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. We got a beautiful show for you. And first of all, you see Reverend with our face mask on. Well, I can't say it's a secret right now, but the whole country and the whole world is reading about Missouri being, we can call it center stage, front and center, backwards, or however you want to call it. What we're trying to do right now is go that way. There you go. What we're doing now, we good now. Okay, we're just making an adjustment in the studio here. Getting our name just coming up, okay. But what I'm saying, the symbol of the face mask is that last year this time we were in the highlights reels because we were being seen as down the Ozarks, people that refused to wear a mask. Well, in St. Louis, it's a tale of two cities. In St. Louis, in three cities, I should say. In St. Louis and Kansas City, the metropolitan area there, we all wore masks. We had a lot of deaths taking place, and we were aware that to prevent that, especially in the black community and underserved communities, wear your face mask. So right now, as you look at Reb and I, we got our face masks on, so people can say, well, you in St. Louis, Missouri, you ain't got no mask on. Yes, we do. We probably don't need to have it on, okay, but we're going to be extra cautious now. We're trying to send a message to our listeners, viewers around the world, okay, that we're taking this is a very serious virus that's coming through here, and it's changing lives left and right because people are dying. And right now in our state, continue to pray, for the families and all the people that, who have lost their lives. Now, let me say this to you. So far, in this whole process, no one, there have been very few, if any, deaths for people who have been vaccinated, be it the Johnson, be it the Pfizer or the Moderna, and if we had another early on, nobody has died from the new variant, from the Delta, okay, that has been vaccinated. Now you may get sick, but right now, and statistics are kept about everything that takes place in here. So it's not our folks saying this, not Scott saying this, not Reb saying this, not even our guest saying this. This is science. So right now, if you got some friends, who in Missouri in the rural areas, and I said rural, I'm talking about around the Springfield area, down the Ozark areas, take this very serious right now, because this is actually affecting lives, and I know young people right now. A very good close friend of mine, his granddaughter, just caught the virus. She's 24 years old, and she came in. She's in school in Kentucky, educated lady, graduated, come back home. She's not gonna wear a mask because they don't wear a mask over in Kentucky. So what's she gonna do? She's gonna do the same thing. Okay, guess what? She's on a ventilator right now for the rest of her life. 24 years old. And I can go on and tell you story after story after story, okay? But that doesn't do anybody any good, okay? For us to continue to tell you a story if you don't listen. Now during this pandemic, we've been trying to, I tell people all the time, please be careful where you go. Wash your hands. That's something we were taught as kids. But anyway, let's get away from that now, because I think right now, and also by the way, our governor here asked for for help from the White House. They sent in people, to help us out, and they made a suggestion, where anybody would say, hey, let's kind of, do a mass, awareness drive, let people know about this. Well, the governor decided he didn't want the federal government being involved in this, doing things in this community. Talking about going to the door with federal agents and stuff. Nobody said that. Those people don't want to go next door to nobody. I mean, especially when they already know that this virus is. Okay, look at the screen and see where you. So right now we're trying to make some. There we go.
What I need to do.
Yeah, move over some more. There we go. There we go. What we doing right now is, like I said, my first time back in the studio, and we're making adjustments, okay? And this time we got a live guest in the studio with us, okay? And matter of fact, Zaki, come on this way. Let's make this real simple. Come on. Okay, come in a little bit, okay? Because right now we'll try to hide you. Okay. Zaki Rudy is a friend of mine, been a friend of mine for years, you know, and Scott is making this happen with the cameras here. But what we're doing, we have this discussion that I'm gonna get you involved with. But right now, this pandemic, right now, to show you how bad it is in China, in Japan. Well, right now in Japan, the Olympics was scheduled to take. That's Scott. No. Okay. No.
Wouldn't that be better?
Okay, no, not yet. Okay. This is live and living color. Okay, take my word for it. Okay,
but we can't see him.
No, Scott. We got that worked out.
Okay.
We got this worked out. Well, this is live and living color, but you got to appreciate it. But anyway, I was saying in Japan, the 2020 Olympics will take place in 2021 at in different venues in Japan, but they have spent over $15 billion preparing for the Olympics. The Olympics is a major production. And I said major, they build stadiums. I mean, they build, several stadiums. I mean, they have stadiums all in around there. We got the baseball stadiums. They got, the track stadiums, okay? They got, soccer field. They got so many stadiums, you cannot begin, to keep track of them. But anyway, this time around, they will be empty. Now, that's for the people who had bought tickets. There will be no family members there. There will be, not people cheering them on like to see people do. But right now, okay, Zaki, you can sit back. We're gonna get you in a second. Right? No, you just still, and Scott will figure this out. Okay, that's what he's doing. Okay, but anyway, as working this out here, this is living color. Okay, but anyway, and so in Japan right now, NBC has lost a lot of money. They got the advertisers who still would be able to running commercials. But think of all these sponsors. Each one had planned to bring their families to the Olympics. They built in private booths. The clients they're trying to sell their cars to, whatever they're trying to sell. Well, right now, all that's been blown by the wayside, because now that's the virus there in Japan is like it's not even 5% under control. So what that means, if it's at 5% under control, that means it's a very dangerous place. And so there was discussion about trying to have a bubble like they did for the NBA. That wouldn't work. So right now, you're gonna see the Olympics in a couple of weeks. And also, by the way, the young lady, Miss Richardson, track star, 100-yard dash. She made a mistake, and I ran track. I've been in sports, and they got rules of the game. Okay, and the coach tell you what you should not do. And she said, I made a mistake, and she let it go. But everybody else trying to call it racist. I mean, she's black. I mean, some athletes, have did different things, but she said, I made a mistake. And she stepped up to the plate and said, hey, I did it. So let's do the same thing and give us some respect and give us some time. And I hope the media would do that and let her live her life, and life will go on. And also, as we look at that, the entire Olympics, will be seen on TV. So right now, the good part about it, if you didn't have a ticket to go there, no big deal. You're gonna see it anyway. Okay, free. And also, before we go any further about the Pfizer, came out this past week and talking about speaking about having a third vaccine dose available for COVID-19 for the virus. Well, that's not needed right now in the present time, because I already said if you got the COVID virus, the vaccination for the Moderna, Pfizer, or either the Johnson Johnson, you are safe. No one has died so far. Now again, they said, personally, I think they lift all the restraints too quick, because right now in the middle of the country, in Missouri and where we are around us here, these states, about 4 states right now, is where the virus is now, and it's going from the middle of the country to the rest of the country. Previously, it came from the East Coast to the West Coast, and that's how I got in here. But this time, it's a little bit different. So right now, please, as you travel, please be aware, where you're going. And it's not so much for you; it's for your friends, it's for your parents, people that relatives who haven't done anything. You're gonna bring a ticket to them. They may not travel, but if you travel, okay, you put yourself in a bad situation in your family. And that's what I guess that our governor, matter of fact, in our state of Missouri, we never had a face mask mandate, but now he's telling people you might want to wear a face mask, and at the same time, he's taking pictures in crowded situations, people all around him. It's not do as I say, but look what I do. And people watch what you do. And I think I guess we'll contest that also. And also, like in speaking of Missouri, all the hospitals are running over. They are sending people to St. Louis and our hospitals here, and naturally, and they even asking for people down there that if they could, please come in and provide some traveling nurses. They need help, and we know they will. And also, getting back on the national stage, this is something that's not going to go away anytime soon. No matter how you talk about it, the United States House of Representatives, the Speaker Nancy Pelosi appointed a committee, a select committee, in the House to investigate the January 6th insurrection, riot, revolt, call it what you want to call it. But these people decided to take over our government. Never before had you had a Confederate flag in our national capital. So now, what is going on? You got over 500, almost 600 people who have been indicted, but that means the FBI had knocked on their doors. They've been put in handcuffs. A lot of them, in jail, and the trials will be starting sometime in the next 6 months. But in lieu of that, as we have this conversation, the House investigation will be moving forward. At first, we had the Republicans didn't want to participate, but right now, Mr. Benny Thompson, Congressman from Mississippi, is saying starting next week they're going to be calling witnesses, they're going to be getting subpoenas, and they're going to get to the bottom of this. Also, on a good note, the fences are coming down in D.C. Very good. Now, as we have this conversation, and we're speaking right now, the federal government is very good at investigating what goes wrong. If you've been in any branch of the service, if you just slapped somebody and thought you got away with it, they will find you 10 years later. Right, Scott?
I'm sorry?
And I said, if somebody, he got his headphones, okay, well, I shouldn't ask real, but if somebody do something in the service, do something wrong, they may come back 10 years later, they're going to find out who did what. That's what
a lot of times that's the type of investigation you can have, yes.
Right, I'm saying, so right now, the investigation that we're watching right now going on in D.C., that's going to take place, there are a lot of people right now who are starting to, it's not snitching on people. They're telling people that this is not government. Everything is legally done by the book. And so now these people right now, an investigation is going to have subpoenas. People going to come in and testify and give them reasons for what they're doing or why they did what they did. And this going to be all over the world being seen, because right now, the Russia and every place just saying, what did you guys do if somebody trying to take your government from you? You know what I mean? Now we become like a laughing stock. You know, I mean, that's what Putin said. I mean,
yeah, per.
So naturally, we got to get to the bottom of this. And like I say, you watch all these TV shows, the FBI, and they go where the evidence takes them to. And so right now, you're going to see them live in color. A federal investigation taking place on TV. And so right now, just sit back. You're going to read about it. Now, this is one good thing about having all these media outlets. You're going to see this stuff take place in living color. And so anyway, having said that, we are looking forward to what's going to take place. Another hot button item that we didn't talk about last week, but this past week, this is a beautiful time for us. A lot of black activists, black leaders and Congress people, Democrats, met with the president to discuss how, what, and how are they going to deal with protecting voters' rights, people's rights, people call it rights that's being trying to be taken from us in over 40-some states in the country. Even right now, you see Texas right now is trying to have another special session about how to take away people's votes. And people, keep this in mind. This was the most safest election in our history, in our entire history. We had Supreme Court over 16 courts rule this was safe. We had 50 attorney generals said this was safe. Right, Dr. King?
Yeah.
Okay, so it ain't just my imagination here. Okay? And so now, for anybody to say it's not safe, and it just bothers me, okay, that if you're in a service, and I've never been before, but I've been sworn in for different departments, jobs and stuff, you raise your hand and take an oath, to tell the truth and to protect your company or protect, your country and stuff. Well, I don't understand how these Republicans, we are paying them a salary and they refuse to believe what we see. How can we be in the same place? But guess what? Mark my word, this time next year, as these investigations uncover the facts and follow the facts, we a whole lot of people will have a whole lot of change of heart. And I'm kind of interested in waiting to see what will be their excuse for why they changed their mind. And as Red would say, saw the light. Okay. Okay. But anyway, and also while this was going on this week, there was supposed to be an hour discussion. It lasted about an hour and 39 minutes, which was very good. But at the same time, Vice President Kamala Harris announced a $25 million plan for new spending for the Democratic National Committee to fight for the rights for voter access for the 2021 term. Because see, the Democrats have to understand, they were put in by black people, females especially. I said last year after the election that people said, well, something, I think even Chuck had this conversation, they're going to change their mind. I said, well, the worst thing you want to do in your life, sitting here as a black man, I got some men around me, is tell a black woman a lie. Because she ain't gonna forget it. She will not forget it. She won't forget it. I don't care how you say it. So far we've been watching the black men have these discussions, okay? Well, right now, okay, that means the Democrats who are in Congress, the ones who are chairman of committees right now, you will put in those seats by those black women. And take my word for it, there's a price to pay. And like I said again, you got to understand, that's how you are now chairman of committees. Like even like Mr. gentleman from down in West Virginia, he's saying what he's going to do. Well, before he was a minority, he's the majority now. Okay, he got power. Same with the lady, she just got the car from Arizona. Okay, and all of a sudden, before, okay, she was against the filibuster. Guess what? Now she's for the filibuster. You can't lie to people like that. And also, speaking of that, as you know, there was a boycott of Georgia's, state when they passed some laws back in the first part of the year, where a lot of businesses left Georgia, and a lot of them, included the All-Star game, which is about to be played. I think where they playing that right now. That game is about to be played in a couple of weeks, where it was originally scheduled to be in Atlanta, Georgia, but in the Major League Baseball moved to someplace else because they felt that rights were being, black rights were being, which they were being stepped on. Well, also during that same time period, a lot of major corporations stopped writing checks to people, to individuals in Congress. Okay, well, one of those companies stopped writing checks, and guess what? They started writing checks all over again. And guess what? Toyota got his hand caught in the cookie jar. They just, it's a piece that you may see on TV that's done by the Lincoln Project that talks about this, how they lied, and right now they posted. First of all, they said you are on the internet, you are in a foreign country, in a foreign company from a foreign country, messing with our government. It's a hard-hitting piece. And while on top of that, we also got it in the Washington Post. A gentleman by the name Data Milbank, they'll pull it up. He wrote a very nice, scathing article, okay, about Toyota. Now, and on this show, Toyota's a friend of ours. But when you mess up, you got to figure out how to make it right. So again, those are some things that you need to look at there. And another big thing that took place this week down in Haiti. This assassination, Scott laughing at me. Well, see, first of all, let me tell you, we were working on a project in Haiti, Missouri. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Scott. Okay. And so Haiti, which is a country that's been very much a friend of this country for years and years and years and years. And this year, recently on Wednesday morning, before day, pre-dawn, people came in and assassinated him. His wife is in the hospital, in Florida right now, critical condition. You can't do that. They got over 20-some people right now that have been picked up. And right now they're pointing fingers, but they're gonna find out who did it. And a lot of people are going to be paying a price for it. The United States has got involved now, but the thing that makes no sense is, how did you do this like you get away with it? Because cameras on them also. Now also another big thing taking place here, Rev, we've been praying for these people down there in Florida, which is one of the things that you travel a little bit in our lives, and we all see these tall buildings. How would you feel if you're in a high rise and in the middle of the night the building collapsed on you?
I wouldn't be pleasant.
You wouldn't be pleasant, okay? And
Really wouldn't feel a thing.
You wouldn't feel a thing. That's what I was about to say. But your family members. And so right now in America, that don't take place. So that investigation is taking place, and so far we have found that there's a lot of signs that people ignored. One of our members in the Missouri Chamber of Commerce is he's an engineer, and we've been discussing this sometime in the near future. He's gonna come on and be our guest, and we're gonna look at. First thing I said when I told my wife was, this was a structural problem. Mm-hmm. And right now is the great, the ray bar. I mean the things, the material that you spend. Concrete, what I've been told this week, is not just concrete, okay? You can get good concrete, you can get bad concrete. Mm-hmm. And so in this case, we have some bad, cheap concrete. And right now, you have several buildings that were built by the same company, from the same plans, with the same contractors. So right now, those people not sleeping too well right now. Mm-hmm. We can keep them in their prayers, and the good part about this, people not aware of the recovery crews you see down there digging in those rocks and stuff. Those people are volunteers. They're not nobody being paid to do that. They all are volunteers. But right now, since the other tower came all the way down. Now they can actually dig, but right now there's closure, and so it's, again, keep these people in your prayers. They're the one who need your prayers right now, and also, this is some great news. What I'm concerned, I'm gonna mess this name up, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Z-A-L-I-A.
Z-A-K-I.
Z-A-L-I-A. No, Avente Renati.
Oh, okay.
She's 14 years old, and she is from Harvey, Louisiana, down in the Bayou, which is one of the poorest education states in the country. But she's the first black to win a spelling bee contest in 96 years. Not only that, she's in Guinness Books 3 times. Not only that, she played on being a basketball star. That's just for openness. And she said, well, she practiced spelling 7 hours a day. That's how she practiced. That's how she relaxed. And last but not least here, okay, on the national level, the EFL-CIO, my people, union people, and the United States Chamber of Commerce have come together on this infrastructure deal. Being debated in Congress, it's time to get this done. This will help the entire country. And then also I said in Texas, they had it again, but here in St. Louis, Missouri, and also in St. Louis County and the surrounding area, hijacking, carjacking, murders, and especially the young kids. We're up to 100 murders right now in St. Louis alone. So please pray for us. On that note, you listen to Ferguson USA, HotTalkRadio.com, Lunch with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce. My name is our folks, Scott, Ray, take it out of here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Lunch with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce on a rainy St. Louis day. I hope it's well. We didn't talk about it, but please pray for the people on the West Coast. They're in a heat wave, so people don't believe in global warming. Us activists, well, most of the people that I'm around, we are activists in some sort of good way. Okay? But I will find right now, sitting to my right, a gentleman that I've been knowing for many years, Mr. Zaki Baruti. People call him activist, okay? but he's been a politician. He's ran for governor. He's ran for different offices. He's an editor. What have you not done, Zaki?
Well, I've been very blessed. First and foremost, thank you for inviting me on your show. And I always like to salute people who are about trying to educate the masses of our people. But a little bit about me, if I'm the oldest.
Go right here, please.
I was born in Mississippi,
Aberdeen,
Mississippi.
What else?
Aberdeen.
Where's that at?
That's near West Point.
I know. No. I grew up in Vicksburg.
Oh, is that right?
I grew up in Vicksburg, you know, but I was born in Delta, Louisiana, right across the river from Vicksburg.
Oh, okay. But I wasn't raised there. I was actually raised in East St. Louis.
I was raised in St. Louis at 16. My mother brought me to St. Louis.
Right.
And then I was a freshman in high school. I knew you was from St. Louis.
Right. Well, anyway, I was born in Mississippi, raised in East St. Louis, Illinois, the oldest of 10 children.
Okay.
Know about poverty, the outhouse, the outside water faucet. Was blessed to have went through a great educational system in East St. Louis. Had some very professional.
District 189 was a
District 189.
Yes.
At one point, then it began to deteriorate. Right.
Well, the whole city did.
Right. Graduated from Southern Illinois University, have a degree in history as well as a master's in education administration. Been an activist, outspoken on various social issues, starting in college as a member of the Black Student Association, as well as
back in the day, the one that SIU was a very strong organization.
Absolutely.
They did a lot of they effected a lot of change.
Right. In fact, the year I was there, we seized the chancellor's office, calling for black studies and more black faculty. And after graduating, I became an educator for over 33 years, written a couple of booklets on education in terms of my observation and seeing what I believe are some necessary changes to bring the educational system in line with the needs of especially the black community, shall I say. I was a strong union activist.
Okay, hold on a second.
Okay.
Jackie, hey, Scott. Can we use this camera over here?
No, sir.
Or can't? Okay, so we gotta stay. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Still.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I want you to know.
I don't have enough power in my computer.
I got you. Okay.
So scoot back a little bit again.
Let's make adjustments.
Okay.
Okay.
This is better.
Oops. You know, I'm messing.
Let me move the camera.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
where we at?
Yeah, okay. You know, Scott, I figured this out.
Okay.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, former union activist
What did you do?
local 1220 of the East St. Louis Federation of Teachers. I was a political action chairperson, as well as the second vice president.
Okay.
Community activist. I formed an organization when I moved to St. Louis in 1972. Ended up forming an organization that was called the Caucus for Community Progress. And one of the most important things that I believe that we had done was in 1984 we pulled together what was called Missouri's first statewide Black People's Political Convention. And we had 3 different objectives. One was to educate whoever was to be in attendance to state politics, as well as to draw up a platform of concerns impacting blacks, and then encouraging black people to run statewide, because in 1984, at that time, across America, out of 50 state governors, not one was black. Out of 100 U.S. senators, not one was black. And it was projected that black people 13% of the population. So we wanted to challenge that reality. And in attendance, we had a lot of powerful political figures from our community, including at that time the sitting Congressman Clay Sr., as well as Congressman Louis Stokes from Ohio, along with like J.B. Banks and John Bass, all of the power hitters of that time.
Right, all the power brokers.
Right. It was a great conference. Everybody was saying right on, but sadly to say we couldn't get nobody to run. So to practice what I preach, that's how I ended up running for governor. It wasn't because we were asking the elected officials to run, but like I said, we couldn't get nobody to run. So I
Because then, let me say this to people. I was around during that time period myself. Okay, and I was with the Teamsters in those days, Local 688. You know, and very active myself. But the convention that you convened at that time set the stage. But one correction. Previously, we had a black congressman, Mr. Brooks from Massachusetts. It was Brooks.
Yeah, no, but he was the first black.
He was formerly
right,
but he wasn't in office then.
Right, and that was my point.
Right, yeah.
It was nobody representing our community at that point in 1984.
Yeah,
and you know, and as taxpayers, in essence, we were doing taxation without any kind of representation at that level. But the sad reality is, and I ran twice in 1984. I ran out of that election.
Well, if memory serves right, was that the year Jesse Jackson ran for president?
That was when Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1984, as well as in 1988. I was. It was a 4-month campaign. My first time I ran. Was able to, after the primary election, to get the eventual Democratic nominee of that time, Mr. Ken Rothman, to publicly endorse our agenda. He eventually lost to John Ashcroft. I ran a second time in '88 and shocked a lot of the political pundits, because even though we had convened many of the black political leaders, most of them at that time went with the white major candidates. But I was able to get over 87,000 votes the second time I ran, 19% of the vote. From there, we transitioned the group of people who was with me into forming the organization of which I represent today, the Universal African People's Organization, which has been on the ground floor on a lot of issues, including police violence, as well as we have a international perspective. I'm proud to say we have sponsored about 5 large international relief efforts to help people abroad. Early on, I heard you mention about Haiti. In fact, in 2004, we shipped a large container of over 540 boxes of food, water, clothing, medical supplies to Haiti in the wake of the hurricane that they had experienced in that year. As well as
actually, why don't we just stop right there on Haiti? You know, being somewhat a history buff myself. Okay, let's tell people about how important Haiti in the past had been to this country. Why it's not just somebody that that's a poor nation.
Right.
But we should have been supporting them a long time ago. But like being black, we never did. Tell us about Haiti.
Well, Haiti, of course, was one of those points in the Caribbean that was a stop off for enslaved people. And but in right around 1802, it began a rebellion, which finally culminated with the success of the first actual successful black rebellion against slavery, which the French, which was in control of Haiti at that time.
It was a French colony.
It was a French colony that Toussaint Louverture and a brother named Lyles led the rebellion. Eventually, though, Toussaint Louverture, the French tricked him. I hate to say that.
Well, he did.
Right.
No, we tell the truth.
And they were talking in terms of like a peace agreement, had him come to France, and then they put him into prison, and he died inside the prison. But Lyles continued to march toward the freedom. In fact, it's ironic that we publish a newspaper called the African News World, which is a copy right here, and we have a story. It's I'm the publisher of the paper, but we have a story in terms of titled the 1811 Louisiana Slave Rebellion and the Struggle in Haiti. Because when black people got word of who were enslaved here in this country, many were inspired by the rebellion in Haiti, and that's how some of the rebellions did occur, which included one I just mentioned in Louisiana, as well as
let's talk a little bit more about the one in Louisiana, because that's close to my heart.
No.
Well, really, because it's really, people, Louisiana right now, and we just mentioned a young lady that's first time in history, 96 years, she's a spelling bee champion.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know, and she has a French name. So that's kind of, you know, they're okay. You know, Louisiana is the only state that has its own type of government. They have parishes, not counties.
Right.
And they also have the Gothic law there, which they go by.
Mm-hmm.
And so now tell us a little bit, you know, 'cause that's kind of French there, even more so, you know.
Well, that was led by, his name escapes me, but a brother who was inspired by what happened in Haiti, organized a number of other brothers and sisters, and they took over a couple of farmlands, I mean the plantations and what have you, and they had a march toward one of the Baton Rouge at that time,
which is the state capital.
Which is state capital, but by that time, as they were gaining momentum, the militia of that time, the federal folks as well as the state folks of the slaveholders, you know, organized themselves, and they put an end to the rebellion with a lot of, you know, massive incarceration of people as well as a massacre of many of the people who were involved in the rebellion. So that was...
Why are you on that, okay? No, here in Missouri, we have a congresswoman, Cori Bush.
Right.
And, you know, she's a freshman congresswoman, and she's becoming really a face of the black community in Congress, because she came out of our Ferguson riots that we had here, and she's an educated woman. You know, she's a nurse, so she's been in the hospitals. You know, she understands what it is, and also she's been homeless before. But recently, she said that blacks were not free on Independence Day.
Which was a true statement.
Which is a true statement.
Right.
Statement, okay.
Right.
because actually in 1774, before the Constitution was signed, that England had to sign. That's Thunder Scott. You know, England had decided they were negotiating that with the slaves to set them free. You know, no, this was in 1774.
Right.
Before, okay.
Right.
The Constitution. Then we went backwards.
Right. Well, you know, the formation of this country was by a select group of white men.
Well, white wealthy men.
Yeah, white wealthy men, I'm glad. Landowners.
Landowners. Who
also, many of them owned our people, enslaved people. And so, you know, at the start, with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are great statements, but it's full of hypocrisy, because just as Thomas Jefferson, one of the framers as well as the first president, he owned people, and so he was for me a wicked person in terms of the mistreatment of us as a people, our ancestors. So, but you know, going back to Cori. Ironically, Cori, I must say, got her first dose of politics through our organization asking her to run for United States Senate in 2016.
I recall.
And I made mention of that because when I had made mention that in 1984 there were no black governors and not one black United States senator. If we fast forward it to today, 2021, there's not one black governor in America out of the 50 states today, nor in the United States Senate, for which we had asked her to challenge. Out of 100 U.S. senators today, only 3 are black and not one black woman. So in response to that, our organization pushes a concept that's called proportionate political representation.
Say it again.
Proportionate political representation.
One more time, yes.
Proportionate political representation. I appreciate that, because sometimes I have people I'm speaking to repeat it after me. I truly appreciate that. And what does that mean? We say that simply means that whatever percentage that we are as a people in America on the national level, or within states, or locally, then we should have that percentage of political power. That's just common sense.
Equal representation.
Equal representation. But sadly to say, there are over 500,000 political positions across America. Now we see black aldermen and other black elected officials.
Councilmen, school board members and all that.
But in terms of the totality of our power, out of 511,000 elected officials, we hold about 15,000, which translates into about 3 or 4%. Now, if we were fully empowered, then we say several things can happen that helps our community. One, politics, as an extension of politics, it influences economics. Because number one, most political positions pay a salary. So somebody is being paid. Secondly, most political...
Well, first of all, let's say this. Our whole system functions around the dollar.
Hey, you got that right.
Okay, our whole system functions around the dollar. I said it 3 times. Our whole system functions around that dollar.
And as elected officials, just say, for instance, just a school board member, hell, they make decisions as to, say, if they building a new school, then if we don't have people
ban buses,
and if we don't have people at the table, that those contracts should go out to black entrepreneurs that then hire some of our people that then deal with the crazy unemployment that impacts our community. That as an extension of the unemployment, we have a social crisis of drugs in our community because people trying to survive. And not that I agree with it, because we got to get rid of the drugs in our community. But I'm just saying the underlying social causes of some of the maladies that impact our community centers around economics. And so,
again, around that dollar.
Right. And let me give you a real stark example.
Sure, go ahead.
You know, I was very involved in the Ferguson uprising.
Yes.
I call them uprising. And at the time of Mike Brown's murder, Ferguson, which I, by the way, had lived in that same complex.
So did I.
Did you?
Canfield Green.
It was the village though when I lived there.
Well, when I was there, I was there in the 70s, about 79, 77.
Well, you must have came right after I had.
Yeah, because
they didn't renew my lease. Let me give you a little story on that.
Okay.
When I moved there, it was called the Village Apartments. And it was in transition from, predominantly white to black. But the management allowed the services in the apartment complex to go down. Yeah, deteriorate. We had boulders in the street. We had poor garbage collection.
Wow.
We had roaches running around.
Oh my God.
So I took it upon myself to organize the tenants. And we were able
Tenant Management Association.
Yeah, it was called the Village Tenant Association.
Okay.
And we threatened, a rent strike, had a couple of protests. But out of that, I'm proud to say that we were able to get the boulders repaved. We were able to get that
I agree on that, and I saw the results.
Right. The garbage collection redone. They even painted the whole complex and got rid of the roaches. But when it came time for my lease to be renewed, it was not renewed.
You out of here.
I was out of there.
Women was up there, they even changed the name of the contract.
Right. Absolutely.
When you got
So anyway, I'm out. And, I moved into another community, University, which I live now. But when Mike Brown was murdered, because I'm into statistics, like Malcolm X used to teach that we need to know our reality. So in my mind at the time he was murdered, I was thinking Ferguson's still a little majority white. I know it was a transition.
Oh yeah, he was majority white.
No,
that was black.
Yeah,
but they didn't have the power.
Right.
No.
When I'm saying that I thought it was still like a little majority white at the time, but then come to find out, Ferguson at the time Mike Brown was murdered was 68% black.
And the reason that was because back Canfield Green, there was a lot of apartment complexes.
Right, in that area.
In that area, because you went down further past Canfield Green. There's some more apartments.
Right.
And then you went to the other ones. There was a whole, and they're in there on line where our power became in.
Right.
Where the majority came in.
Right. But my point is, 68% at the time he was murdered. On the city council, these are taxpayers, you had 6 members along with the mayor, and only one was black. And as a direct consequence of that reality, You had a police force at that time, which was 53 members,
Mm-hmm.
and only 3 was black.
Mm-hmm.
So effectively, black people were paying taxes to hire people from outside their community. And as we know, in terms of the Ferguson community, many of the traffic tickets and the harassment of blacks were perpetrated by that police force of that time. So we participated in our own degradation by not being politically involved to the level that we supposed to. And that's why we are calling for that whole concept of proportionate political representation at every level of government.
Well, let me compliment you, Zaki. From the Michael Brown, that's why we here, where we are here in this station.
Yeah.
For one, okay, this church here was one of the cornerstones where everybody could come meet here, okay.
And let me salute Reverend Pearson, because he opened up his church.
Up.
We've had, as an organization, a number of functions right here. And so for us, that speaks to the necessity of men of faith, of all faith, and women, shall I say, to not only preach the word, but practice the word. That we got to clothe the clothesless,
feed the homeless.
so
we got a pantry around here.
Right.
All that's in this complex.
Right. So I just want to salute Reverend Pearson on that note.
But let me say this to you, okay? From there was a Senate bill they called us for that. In those days, if you was a black person, well, you went about in this area, in this whole community, you went to jail. They would lock you up because you couldn't pay your ticket.
Right.
Or then they would charge you rent while you was in jail.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Right.
And so now when you get out, you done lost your job.
Right.
You ain't got no place to stay.
Right.
You done lost your family, and they're gonna put you back in jail because you got a record now.
Right. Right.
And eventually it grows into a felony almost.
Absolutely.
But now, what in the state of Missouri, your efforts, okay, change the way the law is now in Missouri.
Right.
Because all police departments were getting their monies off of traffic tickets.
That's what they were doing.
Traffic stops.
Right.
Traffic court. Night court. Where you go to court, you went in there, you hope you didn't get locked up. And you didn't have no money to pay, you got locked up.
Right, right.
And then at that point, you started running the tail.
Right.
That was against you.
Hey, but since we're talking about Missouri, but let me also get a little point of information for everyone.
Please.
Under J. Nixon, the Missouri General Assembly passed a law that every year is mandated that the Missouri Attorney General do a study as to whether or not black people are disproportionately stopped
From the whole state.
in the whole state. And every year since that year, which I'm talking about 206, and I don't know exact year it passed, but it was.
Let's say 205, 206.
Yeah. Every year it comes out that we are disproportionately stopped.
At least 75%.
Hey, so that in of itself speaks to why, our organization exists, why we challenge everybody that they need to belong to an organization that speaks truth to power, and that everybody, just like we encourage black people to be voters, that everybody needs to join an organization, because one of the weaknesses of our community is that we're not organized to the level that we should be organized. And then too, we also encourage, and we're not just saying black people, we're saying anybody who's concerned about justice and equality need to be in this fight, because America still falls very, very short in terms of practicing what it preaches.
One of the things, matter of fact, today I did this and I thought about you was coming. Black organizations need to work together. What I'm about to give you is one out of the Pale Pens.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And that's some that are Scott. I don't know if we got a picture of it now, but
it's circling around.
Yeah, right there, right there.
Okay, then I truly appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're right there. Okay.
Right.
What you see, okay, that's our logo.
Okay.
You know, we just kind of dressed up a little bit.
Right. I truly appreciate it. But let me say something too. While it's on my mind, sometimes I have to interrupt because it's on my mind. You know, at our age.
Well, you're older than me, so but I'm happy to be me and Real both said that too.
But you know, when you mention organizations need to come together, I'd be remiss if I did not salute. There's a coalition of which our organization is part of that's called Community Justice Coalition. And it's a number of about 9, 10 community-based organizations that have come together around supporting the re-elected Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner.
Yes.
We were very involved in working for a re-election, and we just most recently, in fact, had a press conference condemning the effort to take her law license. You know, so the struggle
goes on.
It goes on, and she is just one of a number of black female prosecutors across America,
the whole country,
that is under attack. So anytime,
matter of fact, they're all under attack.
Right.
We ain't got to kind of break down who's who.
Right.
They're all under attack.
So again, that speaks to where we always say that we have to organize. As a great man named Kwame Ture, also known as Stokely Carmichael, used to always say we got only 3 things that we should do: organize.
And speaking of organize, you know, one of the things, people may not be aware of, when we speak of the prosecuting attorney, district attorney, you know, they may have different names, different forms,
Right.
But that person is in charge of the criminals, they're the lawyers who prosecute, or even Secretary of State. Those people are responsible for enforcing the laws of your city, of your town. If somebody break a law or go to jail, the police department is supposed to bring them some information so they can be indicted.
Right.
And now, so that means there should be some trust between the two of those. They work hand in hand and have been for years. But here in St. Louis, I got to talk about it. I know it's better than anybody else. The police organization here, the fraternal order, not a union. It's a fraternal order. They do not like Kim Gardner because she's the first black prosecuting attorney, and she changes some of the laws. Change is always hard when people come in and make a change, especially if it's the color change, the people that you're dealing with. So now we have a black police chief, we have a black prosecuting attorney, now we have a black mayor, and so in this organization, we have a police department that's, what's the percentage?
A percentage of black and white?
Yeah.
The last I had looked at it was about 70% white and 30% black. It may have increased a little bit since the last time I looked at it statistically. But let me make mention in terms of that relationship, because we are dealing with that. In fact, we'll be coming out with a special edition of a newspaper article focusing on, supporting Kim Gardner. But the Fraternal Police Association, St. Louis Police Association, and I have a little history with them, if I could tell a story on that.
I know you do, but go ahead. No, we've been friends for some years here.
Right. Let me share this story right quick. Back in the 90s, I was co-chair of a group called the Coalition Against Police Crimes and Repression. And as you know, the St. Louis City and Kansas City had the only form of government where the police commissioners, whose responsibility to overall administer the police department, that the commissioners were appointed by the governor.
Yes.
So we worked to change that, So in changing that, we were pushing for, a bill
local control.
Right, local control. So at the time, I can't remember the name of the head of the president of the association, but he used to have a radio program where he would be talking about attacking myself as well as Jamala Rogers, another activist in our community. But I'll never forget, we were at a hearing up at the state capitol, and so we're speaking for, the bill, local control. and then you have people who speak against it. And so this head of the police association, after I spoke for it, he was speaking against it. And you know why he said he was against the bill? He said the reason he's against the bill because I keep Baruti is for it. I mean, that came out of his mouth.
But since I keep, that's one of the things, okay, that when you can't think of no other thing, you make it personal.
Right.
As a teacher, educator, you know, okay, when kids can't say nothing else, they make it personal.
Right. But I only say that to say, fast forwarding to Kim Gardner today, she's under attack for several reasons. As you mentioned, she has a program that not just talking about incarcerating people like from the school to the prison pipeline, but trying to also address some of the root causes of crime. And so to that end, she has implemented what we call a diversion program that for first-time offenders who are not violent offenders, then, you know, you have community service. She also, and as our community know, we have a lot of rogue police officers who historically have planted the drugs and lied, you know.
And they take pride in it.
Right. So she had an exclusionary program for those officers that were identified as being rogue.
Who got caught.
Right. Who got caught. Or posted negative, stereotypical images or negativity to our community. And then one other thing, if I may.
Very sure.
There was the old powerful white boy club were really disturbed by how she had the audacity to look at possibly charging the former governor Eric Greitens for, you know, his extramarital affair, which led to him taping the woman that was going to use that as kind of like you know, blackmailing her. And so subsequently that's why they've gone after her.
It's called woman abuse.
Right.
Matter of fact, it was proven to be a fact. You know, that's what took place.
Right. And that's what eventually led him to resign.
Because why you on that, okay? Because as a governor, that's one thing you shouldn't have done. But also, you know, in the service, he took an oath also, not to have extramarital affairs.
Well, you know, there's a lot of hypocrisy. We can go deep on that. There's a lot of hypocrisy there. But again, though, past all of that, it's going to take good people to say enough is enough. Just like on your other commentary when you were talking about the attacks on the voting rights, that you know, the right wing of the Republican Party has been pushing throughout the United States. It reminds me, I mean, to limit, you know, voting rights. It actually reminds me of post-Civil War, after the Reconstruction period, out of which when we came out of slavery, and then, heck, we were empowered in many state legislatures across America.
And Congress also.
Yeah. And then all of that was taken away from us all the way through the Jim Crow era, all the way up into Dr. King, and, you know, the Civil Rights March began to, you know, force the Civil Rights Voting Act of 1964 or 65?
65.
Right. So to that end, again, the battle for justice in this country is an ongoing battle.
You know, Zaki, as an activist, and let's put this out, we activists, because what we do, we speak for our people who are normally voiceless.
Right.
And we also take hits for doing that. Okay.
That goes to
territory. What were your thoughts, okay, when you watched TV on January the 6th? Because on that time, everybody was kind of watching TV to see how that was going to go.
Well, my thoughts was that was a full-fledged rebellion, really led or instigated by the former president, Donald Trump. As well as I was saying in my mind, now, if that was a like members of going back to the Million Man March, if we had besieged the Capitol, what would have happened?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
My God.
What would have actually happened?
It'd have been a bloodbath.
It'd have been a bloodbath, right? Which then speaks to, again, of the racism that permeates America. So I would hope, though, out of that, I'm glad to see the Democrats are going to have called for a select committee. But we shall see what will be the actual outcomes that occur. Because you know what? And that just made me also reflect historically.
Come on.
In terms of, there's been a lot of recommendations for a change in America, but it hasn't actualized. Go back to the assassination of Dr. King. When Dr. King was assassinated, which he was assassinated exactly 1 year from the time that he came out against the Vietnam War at Riverside Church in New York, that there was an explosion across America of what they describe as riots, I say rebellions. Out of that, it was commissioned Kerner Commission, which was to study the root causes
of the problem.
And they laid it out. They laid it out. Unemployment, racism, everything. They made recommendations. To this day, that hasn't occurred. The Ferguson Commission did a study about not much has really occurred to get to the root problems from there. So,
but you know, Zaki, while you're on that, in St. Louis, you know, you can't be an activist if you ain't get a copy of this with a thing called a Team 4 plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You know, or you was aware of it. Okay. Now,
right.
This was a plan made and put together, and how to destroy blacks in St. Louis.
Right.
The black community.
Right.
You know, and one of the first things they decided they need to do. General Motors was a major employer. You know, they had two plants, the Corvette plant, the General Motors plant.
My father worked at one of them.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then not only that, they had Ford Motor, but doing that, okay, and then also the quarter carburetor, all the parts had to be made, everything. There was a driving engine there.
Right.
So they removed that.
Right.
From North St. Louis. Then the next big piece was Holmes G. Phillips.
Right.
Because if you don't have any health care, if you don't have any health care, you're in trouble.
Right.
And so now that plan, Team 4, they worked that plan with no recommendations.
They worked it well.
And they worked it well, okay, and they took it around the country.
Right. And in fact, not only the Team 4, when you talk about the highway system, this is historical. A lot of the highway systems across America went through black communities and devastated many of the businesses that was prospering in those communities that had to give way to the highway system.
Well, here in St. Louis, now even downtown St. Louis, where they built the ballpark at, that was a black community. Okay, well, most of your highways, they had a word they called for the better was something, okay, but
urban renewal.
Urban renewal. Well, right. even out in Tulsa, they got a highway going through there.
Right.
We got a highway going down to Meacham Park.
Well, you know what? When you mention the highway through Tulsa, Oklahoma, in fact, in the last issue of our newspaper, I'm just proud to say, we had a great story on the Black Wall Street, and as an organization, we commemorated this Black Wall Street, the history of the wealthy black community and the massacre perpetrated there.
But before we go any further, how can somebody get a copy of your newspaper?
Okay, our paper is distributed through churches, as well as we have them at various businesses in our community. But if anybody is interested in subscribing directly to it, they could give me a call at area code 314.
Oh, you can put it on the site, Scott can put it on the website for the station.
477-4629. Or they could go on our website and actually...
you got to say it 3 times.
Oh, okay. They can call me at area code 314-477-4629. Yeah.
Yes.
That's area code 314-477-4629. Or they could go to our website, which is www.uapo.org. That's www.uapo.org. www.uapo.org. And click on one of our links that would say African News World, and they can read some of our past issues. And by the way, if I may, then also our organization have a YouTube station, which is UAPO News World. That's UAPO News World. UAPO News World, of which I have a program that's called Conversations with Zaki Baruti. So I'm going to have a conversation with you. It's an internet TV program.
So like we are here.
Yes, and so because media is important, and and it helps drive the narrative as to how people should look at life and how we should be responding. Which takes me to another issue that's real dear to me, that we'll need to really have a campaign. I always say there's two major problems facing our community. One is external, which is institutionalized racism, and then the other is internal for us, not organizing and speaking truth to power. But one thing that really disturbs me now is the weaponization of music against the best interests of our community. And what I mean by that is the filth that permeates the radio stations. I mean, in terms of how these rappers, and we don't have to check them. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional on that, but we got to check them because our young females they're not B's and they're not H's. I mean, H's and W's, and the perpetration
they're daughters, they sisters,
right, and
family.
And the perpetration of the violence. We got to check that, but part of that is major media allows it.
It's money. It's money.
Yeah, it's money, and we have to check that, because what if, Scott, instead of they say nigga, shoot another nigga, if they say go shoot somebody white, or they say go shoot somebody who's a Jewish person, that stuff would be
They're all the same.
Yeah, I know it's all the same, but I'm saying it'd be cut out real quicker than what it does.
Would be. Yeah.
That was my point.
It really offends me, all the we as a white person, we're told that we don't use those words, and then it's all over the media.
Right.
Okay,
So that's another struggle.
Okay, Chuck, you still there?
Yes, sir.
So you get a feel for our guest today is Zaki Baruti. He's a long-time activist in the community. He also ran for governor a couple of times, in the community. And he's worked. He has a newspaper. He's an educator. He's been on the forefront for change and a whole lot of things that goes on. Not just here in St. Louis, but also across the whole city of Kansas City, because I'm in Kansas City. You tell me about Zaki when I'm in Kansas City. I say, I knew anybody else. So I mean, but this is our guest, so he just gave you some thoughts there about what is on the plate now. What are your thoughts on what you just heard?
I didn't hear 100%. And if you could give me a paraphrase, short summary, I could understand it. But I was hearing about, I think it was the semantics of using certain words and not using certain words.
Well, it was a number of things that I was addressing, just to bring you fast forward. Just a quick digress. I was projecting the need for what we call proportionate political representation, which is a concept that simply means wherever percentage we are as a people on the national, state, and local levels of government, then we should have that percentage of political power, which does not really exist today, especially when you look at the fact that across America, out of 50 governors, not one is black. When you look at the United States Senate, out of 100 senators, only 3 are black and no black female, and we say It is projected we're 13% of the population on a national level, then we should have 13% of all that political power, which doesn't exist. I was speaking about the weaponization of music against the best interests of our people in terms of how the negative music have a psychological impact on our children and have them acting out in a very negative way. We also address the fact of policing in our community, and as an organization we call for what we say community control of the police department, which simply means wherever percentage that every police department, shall I say, should reflect the ethnicity of the community in which they work, and that police officers are to live in the community in which they work, and there are to be effective civilian oversight boards to investigate allegations of physical and mental and abuse of its citizens. So those are some of the things we were addressing.
Okay, Chuck, so can you grasp that?
Yeah, I want to say, woo, that just about covered a whole lot of it right there.
Well, we covered a whole lot today before you got here. Okay.
Well, you could take today and the next 10 years and keep going on that. You know, so my opinion, if we damn near go like that, and part of it is factual, my opinion is based on facts.
Yes.
It's modern day Willie Lynch. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the music is the music, and that's what's popular. There's a reason why
Absolutely.
we don't have that representation. But if you talk about the reasons why we don't have the representation and the personification of the culture, basically, if we don't take responsibility in totality for it, meaning that, you know, whether you start with how you raise your children or what you supplement because what's not being taught in schools, or maybe the counterproductivity of some of the things that may not be in a textbook or the curriculum, but the things they learn in school. And some of that is negative inference. You know, whether you can tell a kid that don't expect to do this, or don't aspire to do that, or don't take these advanced classes or math, or don't worry about going to college, or don't even, you know, you can't even go out here and learn shop mechanics, you know, on how to repair a car out on somebody's driveway or something and make you some quick change, or whether it's home economics or maybe a musical instrument. But the bottom line of what we're really talking about, and we can use a case study of best practices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look at the other, well, let's just take the big one right now. How in the world, here we are, maybe we sitting in a barbershop or wherever just talking, and saying, now how in the world did it get to this on this LBGT stuff? How did all of a sudden, whether it's Me Too or whether, do you realize, I'm driving down the street talking to my wife the other day, because she's a school teacher. We're saying, so wait a minute, now you got to have 3 bathrooms?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it got to that. And don't you dare say anything about what had been part of our culture for the history of mankind about male and female. You know, some people, now they ask you, I had somebody ask me a survey or something saying, you know, would you tell us how you want to be referenced as gender? What gender pronoun you want to use?
Man, I got a story on that.
You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. Look at how delicate and sensitive it's become on something that was a default that God put there since Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
But you know, we may not want that.
Oh, let me tell you.
Whoever we may be, that is getting these rules and these laws, and it's a minority thing now. So I could be black, white, blue, or green, but I could be this other designation, and I can say that I'm due contracting consideration. And if I decide that, well, I'm not necessarily that designation, but maybe I'm a woman, or maybe I live in a poverty zone. And then here's one that really gets me. I get to choose when I fill out a census or a form or whatever. I get to choose whether I can be a male, female, other, transgender, any of these things. But so I just want to know, can I also get to choose if I'm black or I'm white? Can I decide what box I'm going to check today? And, or what percentage of my blood is that? Because that is science. That you can't change that. I mean, they're probably working on something to change that if that's what the law was based on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my point in all of this right now. There is what may have been legislated or lobbied or led to believe because of the media is trying to tell us what's right and what's wrong, or what's truth and what's not truth, or how dare your eyes lie to you on what you're seeing. I mean, it always had been police walking the beat or having some engagement. I mean, the POW Club, the boxing programs, all that stuff was designed so that there isn't this isolation of segregation. And in this case, it was maybe a little bit more institutional. Now you got people pulling you over that just because they pulled you over, and it's almost like a test of manhood or something. So you got to pull these people over. Watch out, be on the. And they're shaking, they're trembling, their hands, and don't move because I already got my finger on the trigger. And if it's not physically on the trigger, it's mentally ready to go for it. Yeah. So much so I'm psyched out that I don't even know which side the gun's on or the taser's on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so what? After, in this case, 26 years, your mind went blank. You panicked on whatever, that somebody made a move, and you're on a training situation. We have so many of these incremental elements that when they link together and when they aggregate, is such a huge, stark issue that all these people, Ira, that we have paraded through this show in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it's been, that want to talk about being elected and vote for me. You know, I mean, I heard that phrase from Motown say, vote for me and I'll set you free.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You know, and what happens? It was like, oh man, that was a not even a 3-minute song. And where is it? But you can't blame, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, because we're not holding them accountable. We're not doing anything to celebrate those elements of our culture and our society that do represent things. That young lady that I think she's 8th grade that just won the spelling bee.
Right.
That's a dynamic. That's something special about that child. She's already, I think, got at least 3 Guinness World Book records for what she likes basketball.
Yes.
And did you see her when she was spelling those words? She wasn't worried about nothing. She was having fun.
Right.
And she wasn't even certain that the word, if she got it right or not. And when she said, I think I did it right, and looked to them and they said, correct, she's like, oh, yeah. You know, the other ones have made that, you know, and of course, what? First time ever an African-American won that Scripps Howard spelling bee.
In 96 years.
I mean, forever.
Almost 100 years.
She want to go to NASA or Harvard and all. Yeah, I looked at her. I said she'll never get there because they're gonna buy her up before she gets to public sector or any of that. Somebody like Elon Musk or something offer her enough money, just come over here and help me get ahead of these other people. You know, so there's so many issues and so many things involved, and the question then becomes, what can we do about it? And it's kind of like one of those things that the leadership will rise from within itself. I don't think you can anoint someone. I don't think that we can pick somebody. I think that we will get behind that person that starts to emerge or to just say something and do the right thing. And you know, we kind of thought, or I mean, mean, it never really happened. But we thought kind of like out of something like Black Lives Matter that maybe we would have that moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then initially on the whole Me Too thing, but then now we're looking at it, and I mean, line up all these accusations, all these people against Mr. Bill Cosby, and one of the first ones they talked to was from 1960. It was from 1960, and I'm saying, wow. 1960, here it is, 2021, and they're still in hot pursuit of an accusational perpetrator. And then what happens? Oh, I'm mad. He's out. Wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. And then Felicia Rashad says something like justice is served, and because she's at Howard University, and all these other things that we're kind of talking about now as a backdrop to our society, to say, how dare your eyes lie to you? That man had a prosecutional agreement. He had an agreement.
Legally binding.
All these accusations, all these people, all of them got together and said what? That, oh no, because of the depositions, he said, Bill helped a little bit against himself by getting a little jiggy and saying, I got to get out of jail free pass here. I can say whatever I want to say.
He's a comedian. He's a comedian. He gotta have some fun with it.
Yeah, and so he went and said things, and they agreed to it, and then, like, oh my God, they found a judge somewhere to throw out that prosecution agreement and got him in there. But you know what they're not saying? They're not talking about that property that he owns in Massachusetts somewhere that's got oil underneath it, and he won't sell it to this company. They're not talking about that. They're not talking about hell to the no, we're not going to let him get a media player like NBCC, which then later, what ended up happening with it? And it wasn't that many years later, but they did kind of let the smoke clear, and sure enough, here come NBC Universal, but then Comcast bought that. And there were all these political things that went on behind the scenes to where we're not going to protest this antitrust component. You know, we're going to look the other way, but at the same time, you dare not say a negative word about this administration. If you notice that, what happened? Because they want to play it all like it's liberal versus conservative, but it's a little bit deeper than that. It's a little bit more.
Always.
It's always follow the money. Follow the money where it went. So we're bringing up things, and part of it is when we stop glorifying the other man's grass being greener and saying, well, you know, maybe we got something other than grass. Maybe we'll just grow a garden in our front yard and take that dirt and turn it into something else. That's when the game changes. When we stop worrying about whether or not we are being recognized and equally rewarded on another man's system of standards, then you change the rules and do what you want to do. You know, it's just like our culture. Boy, the minute, and we'll talk about from the music standpoint for a minute. You know, we had all this fantastic R&B and musicianship and geniuses. You know, people like Stevie Wonder, somebody playing all these instruments. And they got so sick of him coming up there and winning all those Grammys and getting all that. I mean, and you know, Prince certainly is in there. But, you know, and don't even mention Prince, because Prince decided that he wanted to own his own intellectual property. He was getting to the point where I really don't need a manager. No, I didn't need a producer. I worked in a recording studio. I know how to push the buttons and operate the thing. And so, what do you mean you're telling me I can't put a record out until you think it's right? Or you're going to tell me what kind of record I can put out? Well, I'm going to put out a country music record. I like music. I heard something that inspired me. I think I just want, and it's an expression of communication. It's like the First Amendment. And so that system is saying, but in actuality, the real estate, the dirt, the thing that never goes away is that intellectual property, owning your own. And how many of our people from our culture, really from any lesser culture where they didn't maybe have the lawyers or predecessors, or let's say the file of history of studying the best cases and what happened to those people. You know, they used to have this thing called pink Cadillac syndrome back in the Harlem Renaissance era. You had all these managers that were living on one side of the river, and then the artists themselves, that they were theoretically only making a percentage of the money that was supposed to be made. But they give them a Cadillac and say, sign here. And the next thing you know, you don't even own your own publishing. And they really trying to say, well, you know, we might be able to advance you some money if you go over here and write some more songs. or write us another movie, or play a book, or anything like that, because that's what goes on forever. The value never goes away. And that's part of the intellectual capacity of, do we understand what we're doing, or who are you going to listen to? And that's where, you know, take somebody like the Jacksons, as bad or whatever as Michael Jackson may have said his daddy was. The dad and the mother were the ones that were really watching out for all the tricks being played, or all the things. Here, let me take you over here and give you some candy. And that candy might have you doing anything. You know, separate these kids from their families. So that's back to this same thing of the roots of our culture and what we're talking about, and us trying to measure it on whether some network show is telling us it's a good thing or a bad thing. Or, you know, why is all this about the black criminal? You know, and are we the only ones that are creating crime? And boy, have you noticed something else too? These white folks, boy, they ain't scared of these cops. All this behavior with these cops brought their respect levels so far down that even their own people don't respect them. You don't see them up here saying, hello, officer, how are you today? They're saying, listen, what do you want? Why are you pulling me over? I know my rights. You don't even have the right. And no, I'm not even going to show you my driver's license. I mean, it's gotten so crazy in terms of whoever or whatever elements are creating these scenarios and these situations. This thing is spiraling beyond the scope or the parameters of what they were really focused on.
Hey, Chuck,
you know,
okay, Chuck, right quick, okay, if you're getting down here, give us a little snippet, okay, of what's going on with the NASDAQ Chamber of Commerce and our American Dream website. Tell us a little bit about that in the next minute or so.
Well, we are fighting a good fight. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities out here, but we have to make it our own. And that's kind of like what we're doing with the American Dream Fund.
Yes.
And, you know, we just don't get in bed or make deals with just anybody. You know, we're really optimistic and enthused with what Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce has brought to us by way of you, Mr. Ira, folks, with Toyota. And sure enough, lo and behold, Toyota got a brush fire.
Yes.
Accusations of racial discrimination and how they doing what they doing and all like that. And so we're like, okay, we see you. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you got to do more than that. So American Dream Fund, what we're working on right now, we have a program with Dell Computers to offer technical analysis for your home office or your needs. And it's supported with showing and telling you how to do what to do, as well as discounted products and bundled services. We have mentoring, where if you just need somebody to talk to, you know, we're talking about mental health. Yeah, there's a thing going on too with business owners and what you're doing and how you're doing. There's access to capital. We've got small little grant programs, you know, $2 million here or something, but you might be able to step up there and be fairly treated in applying or seeing if you can get one of these $5,000 grants. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got, and on the self-empowerment, we're really putting putting a lot of hope and stake of interest in developing a crowdfunding mechanism where it's easy, and we'll call it assisted crowdfunding. Well, we don't mind telling people about your good product or your good intention or your good deed. And then on the other hand, we're about to really open up the gates on our international interests. We're working now between the Americas, which is North, Central, and South America, where we have Brazil, Colombia. In Central America, we have Costa Rica. Panama is talking to us. We've got Fuse Chambers sprinkled through the Caribbean. And now we're really getting some interest from
Chuck,
the ECOWAS countries.
Chuck, on that note, we're kissing the clock. So, having said that, we're going to thank you again for enlightening us. But come in and using the expertise that he worked with Prince personally. Okay, so so he understood what Prince did and what he went with this. And that's the thing about it. We all bring our personal relationship to this. Everyone here at the table knows. So I want to thank Rev. I want to thank Scott. Thank Brother Zakib and Rudy for what he's done here. And I want to thank Chuck for his insights. My name is Ira, folks. You're listening and watching Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce lunch on a beautiful, beautiful rainy Saturday afternoon in St. Louis, Missouri on Fredericton USA, HotTalkRadio.com. Talk to you again next week.